Woohoo! And welcome live for episode 4 of Drinking with the Boys. I'm Chase Almy.
What's up, guys? I'm Corey Stevens.
And we are hanging out, just trying to get over this bad little streak that we've got going on here.
We have a bad streak?
Yeah, dude. It's 2-2 right now is the bad streak as the...
I don't think we have a win streak or a loss streak.
I don't think so. I think we're just hanging out, you know? It's kind of like having a dry spell or a wet spell. We haven't had really either of them.
Right.
No, we are the definition of mediocrity.
Yep.
So the boys not able to bring it home here in Dallas against the Rams, which a lot of people were calling this game was probably going to be a little bit tougher than what a lot of people thought, because people kept talking about, the Rams are on fire, but there's always that little asterisk right there that's like, they're on fire against shit teams.
They're just the Rams.
Yeah, they're the Rams. You don't want to believe in it.
Nah.
But, I don't think it was Jeff Fisher's fault last year that they sucked. I think it was Hard Knocks, because Hard Knocks is a lot like Madden. If you're on the Madden cover, it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to be hurt the next year. And if you are ever on Hard Knocks, it's always your worst season after. I see a lot of changes from top down, energy wise. The coaching change, I think, did them good. Oh yeah. I mean, that's everything. When the 80-year-old man marries the 25-year-old wife, there's a little bit of action before the heart tickers out.
I don't know how that's relevant.
It's not relevant. It's never relevant. But yeah, anyways, we weren't able to pull it out. There was a good chance there at the end. My girlfriend, being the Debbie Downer, was like, "Oh, they're not going to get it," and I'm like, "Shut up." But they weren't able to pull it out. They had 3 tries at a 2-point conversion, couldn't get it figured out there, and was a half yard short.
Hot take: Travis Frederick, holding or no holding?
Yeah, it was a good block.
Pancaked him.
Yeah,
it was not holding.
Jason Garrett said, "We saw a good block."
Yeah, I saw a good block.
I'll tell you what I didn't see good, though, was a good defense.
That would have tied the game. Yeah, no, the defense fell apart in the second half.
Yeah, Sean Lee wasn't there. It seemed like a totally different player came out in the second half, and I think what Jerry Jones needs to do is put audio and cameras in that locker room and find out what the fuck people said during halftime and make sure literally none of those words that formed the sentences and paragraphs that were read and spoke are never uttered again, because it was a completely different team that came out. But we'll get into that here in a little bit, because this week there was a lot of things going on in the NFL.
Some crazy injuries and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, Derek Carr Romoing it up 2 to 4 weeks with a back injury.
and Romo was broadcasting that game, and he's like, guys, watch. And he knows exactly what happens, because it happened to him, and he was living vicariously through it, and he was moaning and groaning because he could feel that pain. He was like, there's his knee right in the back. Yep. Yeah,
it's like when your grandpa was in Nam and you hear a car backfire and that look gets in his eyes. You kind of heard that in Romo's voice while he was broadcasting.
No, he made his first comment was like, "Oh man, the car's down." Like, it sounded like he was about dead. Like, he didn't get hit in the helmet or anything. Not to joke about that stuff, but like when he made some comment about he hadn't been moving much lately, and I'm like, he's okay, he just hurt.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't a hit to the head, so you're not all that concerned about his lack of movement. You're just like, he just doesn't want to move because it hurts.
But here's the thing is, not that I'm wishing ill on anyone or injury on anyone. I want to see another quarterback injury during a Tony Romo broadcast, because I feel like there's just a little bit of Tony Romo who's kind of become Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. "Oh, coach, put me in fourth quarter. We got one right here. Just sign me during halftime. I'll become a Raider. I'll come in, save the day, throw the ball over the mountains, and call it a day."
Yeah.
I feel like that might have been something going on.
I bet he still likes to do that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
He still wishes he could do that. I know last week he's watching, what's his face? Andy Dalton for the Bengals.
Yeah. Red.
He was just ripping him. Like, he's calling blitzes, and Dalton doesn't see it, and that it hurt for him to watch that. He's like, I've been sitting here in this booth for hours, and I could go outperform him right now.
Right. So Marcus Mariota out.
Yeah, no, he and Derek Carr seemed to get injured on the same days, and that's pretty unfortunate for the Titans. They were kind of up and down, and then they got absolutely killed by the Texans.
Yeah, Texans they didn't stop.
It's been a long time since anybody scored 57 points in an NFL game.
Yeah, and the Texans made that a little bit closer.
Who's their... What?
Well, when you look back in the history books, they're going to be like, high-scoring game. Yeah, now it's going to be like last week. Yeah.
No, who's that Texans quarterback? He's pretty good.
The not Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson. Stephen A. Smith was on arguing about, is Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson the best quarterback in Texas? I turned the channel. But
look, Watson's a baller. Like, I mean, I think he's raw, and it might be something like Dak, last year where it's so new. Like, the defenses can't properly plan for him yet. He's super athletic. I think he's like a faster Vince Young, but better arm. Maybe in 5 or 6 weeks, people finally get a figure,
it's
a handle on how to stop that.
Season. It's usually about a season, and if you look at it, it's happening right now with the Cowboys. Zeke last year,
right? They have the whole offseason, and they really get opposing defensive coordinators really get a good bead on how to shut that offense down. And so if you don't improve the offense, which Cowboys definitely did not, they went with the same guys. They went with their biggest offseason acquisition was T. Will, basically.
Right.
Signing him. I mean, you've got Witten, older, Beasley. Beasley's getting shut down. Dez can't catch. T. Will can't catch. And Zeke has lost his step. And then, for some reason, the O-line has given up a lot more pressure. And then all of a sudden, you've got a really anemic offense versus last year, everything was firing on all cylinders.
Right. And I think it's just there was a lot of film breakdown, and they started to realize the tendencies and noticing, here's what we need to do to shut this down, give ourselves better chances, and teams have been able to capitalize on that.
Yeah. I think what it is, like, I think last year, it's some intangible things. Like last year, once they got over, they had that first week loss against the Giants. But people were like, hey, these guys might be all right. And it was like, that sucks, but we'll be okay. Once it got rolling, I think that, it's that whole, like, just that uncanny feeling where, like, nothing's going to go wrong for us. And we're getting on that winning streak, and everybody's, performing, executing. This year, I think, okay, we built up big and we beat the Giants. Cool, that's great. Well, then Denver just absolutely wrecked us. And after that, you don't have that confidence anymore. It completely changes your look on the season. You get people doubting you. You got this whole Zeke thing hanging over your head. You wonder if your secondary is going to be any good. You got all these defensive linemen suspended, X, Y, Z. And there's just that intangible aspect where people just don't perform quite the same way.
Right, yeah. And that's, one thing that you kind of have to understand is I don't know if you'll ever call it a sophomore slump, but there always seems to be, and the Patriots are going through it this year, where you come off these highs and the next season it's just not there because you've reached the pinnacle of what you've been able to do. Last year was the best season the Cowboys have probably had in a long time.
Right.
And so we expected it to get better, but nothing changed. Nothing made that better. And
right.
That's one thing that I think we're going to start seeing in football is the NFL is slow to change. There's a change happening, and you can tell that there's teams that are kind of have an edge, like the Rams right now. They've got a 31-year-old head coach who's willing to try new things.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what happened last year with Dak and Zeke. It was like, oh shit, Romo's gone. We've got to make something work, and they made it work. But every team has 2 or 3 QA coaches. They have 4 or 5 assistants to assistants of assistants. And all they do during the offseason is the ownership and the general manager and the head coach come together, and they look at them and say, hey, You're breaking every film down, and you're going to find out what the hell we need to do to make this work.
Right.
And that's where it's at. But I think we got a little bit off topic there because we still had to talk a little bit about some more going on in the NFL. Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, no, that was tragic, I guess. The Vikings have had terrible luck lately. Last year, Teddy Bridgewater was out for the season. Before the season even started, tore his ACL, tore everything in his knee. Well, now they've got they drafted this rookie running back in the first round or second round out of Florida State, Dalvin Cook. He was looking really good through the first couple games, and then he tears his ACL. Honestly, at his pace, he would have been in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. He was performing excellent, just like Kareem Hunt, and has put a real damper on the Vikings. Not that we care too much about the Vikings, but that was real unfortunate. It makes me wonder about Adrian Peterson returning to the Vikings. They've got a bunch of nobodies. They might give it a shot.
They may reach out. That was a topic that we had talked about a little bit. I don't know if it was on air or off air before one of the shows was, if this Zeke deal happens.
We talked about that on air.
We did.
About Adrian Peterson getting back to the Cowboys or something.
Coming back.
Yeah.
Or going to the Cowboys.
To Texas, yeah.
But, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't reach out. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they reached out for Darren McFadden.
I think there's a lot of young running backs that I would take a chance on before some old.
Well, I would too, but
Darren
there's those
McFadden.
guys in the NFL who want to go off of. This is X player. They've been great in the past. Maybe we can, ride the lightning one more time with it.
Right. No, I don't know. It's an unfortunate situation up there. Speaking of unfortunate situations, I would say the Dolphins' offense is pretty terrible. They haven't scored. They've scored 6 points in the last 2 games, and 0 of them were last week.
Yeah, Jay Cutler not.
He hasn't.
In any situation, I don't think Jay Cutler likes to score.
He hasn't really paid off. He just was kind of a Hail Mary when Ryan Tannehill went out, and I don't think it's going to pay off for them.
You know who else is a Hail Mary that nobody wants to throw? Colin
Kaepernick. No one
Colin
wants to
Kaepernick
hit him up. That's for
the
sure.
only person hitting him up was Jay-Z wore a Colin K jersey on Saturday Night Live during his performance last week. Getting on board with it. That's why he turned down a Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah,
because it's Roger Goodell's fault that Colin Kaepernick, doesn't have a job. It's Colin Kaepernick's fault that Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job.
Maybe I'm off base, but for some reason that was right where my head went when I heard Titans. You got Marcus Mariota out with an injury, and then they went and re-signed Brandon Whedon. I'm like, how is Kaepernick not better than Brandon Whedon?
Look,
do we not know this that Brandon Whedon sucks?
Here's the thing, and I'm going to be white Stephen A. Smith for a minute.
White Stephen A. Smith.
So
keep it short though.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the NFL is there's only, outside of the Cowboys, who recently was rated their worth at $4.6 billion. That's with B. $billion.
Most valuable franchise according to Forbes in all of sports.
In the world, yeah. And so basically the way that it goes is you have the Cowboys and then you have the Patriots and then you have everybody else. And that's kind of how this has worked out, and that's how this is going. So you really, about average, each team is worth around $130 million is what they're bringing in. You have a winning streak, you may get to with 175, 200 million. So there's really not much incentive to win because all you have to do is put a team out on the field, and you'll make money. It doesn't matter if you win, lose, draw, whatever.
I don't know about the Chargers, though.
No, the Chargers they're playing in the soccer field.
Yeah, maybe this year they're not going to sell any merchandise.
They're not going to do much.
Because LA doesn't want them, and then San Diego doesn't want to buy the jerseys either. So who are they going to sell to?
Right. But teams realize that, and a player that's caused so much controversy is one that is Colin Kaepernick. Nobody wants to touch Colin Kaepernick because there's such a tear on, it's right down the middle. Like, you're going to lose 50% of your fan base if you sign Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. And the people that you think you may gain as fans is not going to be worth losing that 50%. Because that's the thing is, yeah, Colin Kaepernick goes to the Titans. But the young, black activist in New York, he isn't going to give up his Jets or Giants jersey for a Tennessee Titans jersey. He'll be happy Colin got a thing. He'll get a Facebook post with a bunch of likes and maybe 2 or 3 shares. But, I mean, there's nothing really there. There's no incentive for it. And I think that's what's the problem is going to be is, we had for week 3, we had the protest, 200 players who stood or kneeled or whatever. This week, there wasn't shit done about it.
Right.
It was a one-time thing, and that was it. And, people have given so much backlash. At the end of the day, you still have to remember it's a business. You have code of conduct everywhere. We talked about this last week. Whether it's right or wrong, that's just the way it is. And you also have to remember that the same rights that you are happy that are afforded to you are given to the same person with a different point of view, sitting right across the bus from you, in the office cubicle, wherever it is. And Colin Kaepernick rubbed the wrong people the wrong way. And that's one thing that's going to have to happen. And so, Jay-Z was like, I'm not going to do it. They got Justin Timberlake, whatever. But it's become a deal that I don't think has to be a big deal. He made his choice, and you reap what you sow. Is it right? That's not for me to determine. Is it wrong? It's not for me to determine. I have my own point of view on it. It doesn't really matter. If he's a player, he should play, and I think that's what people need to realize. That's, my dad's a pastor, and I remember I said I didn't like Tim Tebow because I thought he would have been a way better tight end or fullback than a quarterback. He wasn't a quarterback. And I think there were some guys outside with rocks ready to stone me to death because I didn't like, the fact that he was a quarterback and he was wearing John 3:16. I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's not paid to be a Christian, though. He's paid to be a football player.
Yeah.
And, that's great. If he wants to go to Malawi and give kids stuff and preach, and that's great. But his job is to be an NFL quarterback. And, yeah, I understand the blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while and a playoff win in Denver. That's all that it is. But he wasn't a great quarterback. And Colin Kaepernick was a good quarterback. He was a good quarterback, but he started to have problems on the field, and if he was doing that and winning, I don't think there would have been that big of a deal. But he caused such a scene and a media frenzy, and he was a backup quarterback.
Well, I mean, he was a starter, but the 49ers were like 2-14 his last year.
Right.
2 years ago.
Yeah, he was a starter, and then, he had his bad season, and then he got passed up for the starting job.
Yeah.
And that's when all of this started. And a lot of people thought it was, to take away from him not being a starter or whatever. But that's how it is. So Mariota, they're going to roll with
Brandon
Weeden instead of, trying to pick up a Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. And it's going to be talked about. But the one thing that I feel like should be mentioned every day on the hour for the rest of the season is the fact that the Giants are 0-4.
I like that.
I love every
Let's spread that word again.
Let's spread it.
Giants are 0-4, guys.
Right,
Cowboys, you think the Cowboys' sky is falling? No. People are overreacting because it's overreaction Monday and Tuesday. No, Cowboys are going to be okay. They got a chance against the Packers and 49ers over 2 of the next 3 weeks, along with a bye week. The Cowboys, they played statistically pretty similar to the Rams. A few plays didn't go their way, and they lost. A few plays went their way against Arizona, and they came back against Arizona.
Right.
They had a good game against the Giants. They're not. Thing is, for some reason, Dallas sports media and Dallas fans have this crazy expectation that it's going to be Super Bowl or bust, and then 24 years in the making, we're never sniffing the Super Bowl. But the thing is, the NFL, think about the Giants when they won their Super Bowls. Those are just wild card teams barely sneaking in.
Yeah.
So all it takes is just be 9-7. Like, it's barely above 500. You can sneak into the playoffs, and then all you just get a couple good bounces, and you have a couple, it's like you're rolling the dice, and all of a sudden your best performances end up to be 3 straight in the playoffs. Right. All of a sudden you're Super Bowl winners.
Right.
Like, it's not sky is falling just because we're 2-2 and we've got some very obvious glaring mistakes. I think we can point to a lot of. We're about to get into that, like different players on defense, offense, play calling, X, Y, Z. But
I think it's
we're
the
still
injuries.
Pretty close.
I think it's the injuries. What were we last year? 14-2.
13-3.
13-3.
with the Packers loss at the end. Yeah.
So, we didn't get that second loss until December last year.
Well, right,
we're the
fourth
went on
week, 8 or 9 game win streak.
Week 4, and we're at the 2-game thing. And that's one of the things with Dallas sports is you start off bad, you end bad. That's what everybody thinks, and it's not the case. It's you ride it for the whole season. So, maybe we get these 2 losses out early in the season, and we bounce back.
Right, and that's what I keep thinking, too, is like, okay, guys, 2 losses is not the end of the world, because all it takes is just a few random breaks, and all of a sudden you're on a win streak instead of having a random loss in the middle of it all. Right. Like, I look at the Packers, okay, it's a great offense, obviously. Aaron Rodgers is an incredible QB, but, their defense doesn't scare anybody. I think, I think the Packers' defense might be exactly what the doctor ordered, and all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, hey, this is pretty good because Zeke just got 130 yards rushing and a touchdown, and we controlled the time of possession, and all of a sudden the recipe for success comes back.
Right,
and then you look at the 49ers. You know that we can be the 49ers, regardless of if we're playing good or bad.
I think our bye week came at a really good time this year.
Well,
because if you think about it, you get that Packers game, you get that done. If you win it, great. You get a little extra time. But if it goes bad and we're 2-3 after that week, it gives you a week to, get over that loss and move forward and think about, hey, you've got 2 fairly easy games coming up.
Yeah, and so, side note, this is the uniform I wish the Rams were always wearing. Speaking of the Rams again, though, I see a little bit of Marshall Faulk and Todd Gurley. I mean, he is quicker than you think.
Are we talking in like a homosexual way?
Marshall Faulk
was a very Todd Gurley.
Where did I say that?
You just said that. I see a little bit of Marshall Faulk and Todd Gurley.
You're ridiculous.
I am.
I'm not looking up anybody's butt. No. Yeah, let's drop that. Do we have
Corey Stevens says Marshall Faulk and Todd Gurley are homosexual.
Whatever. No, I look at the Packers completely winnable. 49ers completely winnable. I look at the Redskins. They're also 2-2. They just played the Chiefs.
Who would have fucking thought that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Redskins would have actually been a watchable game? Andy Reid's got his team 4-0. They're the only undefeated team, and the Washington Redskins have looked like shit for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, okay,
and they made it a game.
Yeah, they made it a game. Josh Norman had a big old hit. That was fun to see. It was legal. His head was up. Everything was great. The Chiefs, though, you never know. With the Andy Reid doesn't have playoff success, so just wait and see. But the thing is, the Chiefs have been playing great. But I still think, a month from now, Cowboys could randomly win. That's just how the NFL is. Everything is so close. Think of the Falcons. We're going to go play the Falcons, who just beat the Falcons, the freaking Buffalo Bills.
Right.
They're not all that. The Eagles were kicking 61-yard game winners to beat the Giants, who are 0-4. It's not like the Eagles are crazy. They're 3-1, but they could just as well be have a worse record than us in 6 weeks. Chargers are completely winnable. Redskins at home. We got the Giants again. Raiders. Who knows? Maybe their wheels come off because Carr is out for 4 weeks. He'll be back, but maybe he's never at full strength.
Right.
It's all these things. Everyone is so close. All you just need is a little bit of better performance. Yeah. It's there.
And I mean, and that's the thing, like right here, like we've been looking around the NFL. There's a lot of injuries going on too in other places, unlike the Cowboys, which, is bad for the teams, but it's also bad for some of the fans because there's a lot of fans out there that play
fantasy football.
So you got Derek Carr out. You've got Marcus Mariota. So 2 main quarterbacks that are huge in drafts. Well, here's the thing, is me and Corey have us a way that you don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's through draft.com.
I know draft.com is a good thing to do. You can join any time. It's a snake draft, so it's really nice. It takes you about 5 minutes, and you do it week by week. So that way, you have one bad week, and everything's reset. You don't have to worry about your roster. You can join, in the middle of week 5 coming up on draft.com.
And you know what the best part about draft.com is?
You can get cold hard cash.
You can get cold hard cash, and your chances of winning are 80% better than the salary cap sites. I used to play those sites all the time, and
it's tough.
It's tough.
Those are tough.
So I love the snake draft, but I also loved the fact that hey, every week I get a fresh start. I can pick and do that, and you know what? Right now, all new players, you get a free entry into a real money when you make your first deposit.
Well,
all you have to do is...
I'd be a new player.
Right, yeah. So I've been playing already. I'm getting my checks. And all you have to do is use promo code DWTB for Drinking with the Boys. And you'll get put in for real money for a free game just by using that promo code and making a deposit. And it gets even better because Draft is sure that you'll love it. They're even offering us, Drinking with the Boys listeners, a money-back guarantee of up to $100. So you
That's
play,
you
spend your $100, you don't like it, just say, hey, you guys are shit, it sucks, I don't like it. They're going to be like, hey, we'll give you $100 back. But you know what? I think the reason they do that is because they know that you're going to love every fucking minute that you spend on draft.com. So you just search Draft in your app store, go to draft.com, play for free using the promo code DWTB. So they are now an official sponsor of Drinking with the Boys.
Look,
we're hanging out.
We know that you want to support us.
Right.
This is how you do it.
Right, yeah.
Play draft.com.
Hey, and the thing is we're as soon as we start getting these guys in and stuff like that, let us know because we're going to start doing private drafts where maybe you can take some of Corey's money. Like that's what I'm planning on doing. Like Corey's got like $1,500 in his draft.com account, and I'm going to make a private draft and take all $1,500 of it.
Chase thinks I'm some high roller.
He is a high roller. You should have seen the wad of Benjamins that was out there in
I
the,
got paid
in the truck.
Today, Chase.
Oh, he gets paid every day because of draft.com. But yeah, we were hanging out in the DWTB man cave today, sipping on some Texas water known as Lone Star.
What?
Right? And, that's one thing that we don't really talk about because we run out of time because we ramble for 30 fucking minutes about things.
Why do we do that?
I don't know.
What's our problem?
But, I mean, the whole thing that brought us together besides football was beer.
Right.
And, we very rarely ever talk about the beer that we're drinking.
Beer brings a lot of people together.
Beer makes a lot of things either really good or really fucking bad.
It's a true story.
I've had some really great nights and I've had some really bad nights. And Corey gets those weird calls. It's like you are receiving a call from, hey, Corey, got a PI. Can you come get me out? I'm not going to make Corey spend the $15 to talk to me in jail for 15 minutes because, hey, I'm drunk. I give him the message. It's just like,
hello. Calls before he's about to get in trouble. It might be at like 11:30 p.m. and randomly I'm like, we have nothing to talk about.
Right. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, hey.
Beer.
Yeah, Officer Greenberg is walking up, and I don't really know what's going to happen here.
Too many beers, Chase.
Just stay right here. I know, in Plano, Texas, it's $313 damn to get out from a PI.
That sounds terrible. Maybe
it
you
is
should
terrible, and their sitting rate for it is incredible. $50 per 12 hours. It's $100. You want to sit out a PI in the city of Plano? It's $600. That's 6 days.
Dang. That's a lot.
Or 3 days. Sorry, 3 days to sit out a PI.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. This is just what a guy told me when I was sitting out a PI.
I think we're gonna reset. We got about 10 more minutes left in this show.
Yeah, we got
Tom Petty passed away
minutes.
last night. That sucks,
dude. That is not good.
Learning to Fly, American Girl, man. Tom Petty. I don't get to say this a lot, but but thank you, Dad, because he got me into the Tom Petty's, and I got the Greatest Hits CD in my truck right now, and I was listening to it on the way in to work this morning.
Tom Petty was
good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Breakdown, best song ever.
It's good stuff. I like that jam on Breakdown. That's true.
That was a good one, and there's a ton of them. I mean, I'm not going to be the glitchy person who's like, or is that cliche?
Yeah.
Is it cliche, not glitchy? Yeah, I've been drinking too much water. But, Free Fallin', incredible. Yeah. Great song.
The funny thing is that at his last concert, he actually made a mention about, like, hey, guys, it's been a great 40 years. Let's do one last one. I don't know. It just, like, it was almost like he was recapping his career, and then all of a sudden he's got a heart attack a couple days later.
I think that's something that we
maybe people just do that a lot, and then all of a sudden they die, and you're like, oh, look, what they did at the last concert.
Right, because, when the guy from...
I don't
the guy
remember.
that just died not too long ago, Chris Cornell.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, when he died,
actually,
people were talking about his last show that he played and, like, how it was like a walkthrough and, like, the things that he was singing and the way that that it was kind of like he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, his was definitely a different circumstance, but it's kind of one of those things. But, we definitely wanted to mention that, and also everybody that's dealing with the Las Vegas massacre. 59 people now confirmed dead, 500 or so injured, and it's just a lot of shit happened in the world, man.
To be honest, like, having to talk about sports for an hour is a nice little release.
It is.
It's been a pretty shit week, yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, we can find a group of guys, 51 of them, 31 or 32 teams, who can say, hey, you know what? Instead of sitting here and having to protest or do this or do that, maybe we can be people's escape.
Yeah.
And I think that was one thing that if you look back that happened 2001, baseball was that.
Yeah.
Right after 9/11 happened, playoff baseball started. And, the Yankees were in it, and that kind of helped. You had the New York teams
Did they
coming
cancel
together.
that week of football the next week?
They did cancel that week.
Yeah. And then, so it was, like, the first major sport that came back on to start playing right after, I think it was like a Tuesday maybe, was baseball. And,
right.
George Bush throwing out the pitch, and it gave people some good feelings. And, it was a way to just move on with your life. I'm not saying we can, talking a little bit of sports can help people move on, because it's a crazy tragedy. But
it doesn't.
That's what our job is here.
We're trying to give you guys 45 minutes of something that you don't have to think about, and then we bring it up and
screwing with everything.
But let's get to looking forward.
Last little bit about the Cowboys' performance, and then looking forward to the Packers, right?
Yes. What I noticed with the Cowboys was definitely the team that came out in the second half wasn't the team that played in the first half.
That's an overstatement of the century. Understatement.
They didn't punt it away at all during the first half.
Right.
And then the first 3 drives they punted away. One other thing that I noticed too was, and this is kind of something that I've noticed in the long haul, has been clock management. Their first drive, 5 minutes, 15 plays. If your defense is that much down and
15
dilapidated,
plays, but only 5 minutes.
5 minutes, 15 plays.
Damn.
They were running a hurry offense, and it shouldn't have been anything that they did, because what it was a, you have.
Yeah, but they scored a touchdown, right?
They scored a touchdown.
I mean,
they did score a touchdown.
Sometimes things happen. Like I don't think that's our biggest problem.
I think with where the defense is and where everything is so up in the air, what's happening. You've got Jalen Smith, who wasn't going to be in every snap, quarter or a linebacker. Sean Lee's out now; he's playing every snap, and you see him get beat several times during the game.
No, I think getting beat by Todd Gurley, he was having a hell of a day. He was running like it's not those like 80-yard runs. It's not those like that consistent 6. Gurley was getting this consistent 15, and that is demoralizing.
Right.
He was just breaking outside, and he was in the second level getting chased down by our safeties. No, Jalen, he I don't know. He just wasn't at peak performance. Week 1, he was looking grand. Last week, he was kind of looking lost out there. Right. There was a lot of guys looking lost. Jeff Heath, a lot of people have been talking about Jeff Heath the last couple of days, and for good reason. I was a pretty big fan of him in the Packers playoff game last year. He almost had 2 or 3 interceptions. One was out of bounds. One he had. No, he's getting exposed. He shouldn't be playing as much as he is, but we don't have Chidobe Awuzie, and we don't have, they're constantly not able to use Byron Jones as safety because he's got to cover the slot, and he's not playing so great. So there's a lot of these guys. What frustrates me is I totally understand the vanilla play calling thing, and that my mind goes there too. But then the Cowboys offense, they have success, and people are like, they don't want to point at vanilla play calling. Sometimes it has success, sometimes it doesn't. If you just execute, and so that's what it just gets back to the players.
Right.
I think there are so many players who are playing inconsistently, whether or not it's Dez can't catch as much, whether or not it's Dak's accuracy, whether or not it's defenses just shutting down Beasley, whether or not it's for some reason Witten hasn't had a significant game through 4. For some reason, maybe it's the fact that we have one good defensive lineman and then a bunch of scrubs. Maybe it's our linebacking core. Maybe it's our secondary. I just don't think it's on the coaches. I think there's a lot of lack of execution.
Right, there is on the field, and you don't have the personnel out there that you think. When teams try to not show a panic by following their schemes, by running what they're doing, by sticking to what they think is going to work. And it doesn't sometimes, and that's when you have to start to look for a change. It's like, in most cases, the Cowboys are going to outscore a lot of teams with their offense based on last year's projections and stats.
Yeah.
In theory, that's going to happen. But it's like how you were saying, I don't think clock management is an issue. Next week, when Green Bay happens, you want a 5-minute play, you better be ready for in 2 more minutes to get your offense back out on the field because
Rodgers will just tear you up.
Yeah, Rodgers is going to destroy you.
No,
with how things have been going, where the media, I think the media has a lot to do with it. Where everybody wants Dak and Dez. Well, you know what worked last year? Dak and Witten, Dak and Beasley, and we're not doing that.
No. Dez's targets are up 2 per game, but he's just not catching at the rate of other elite receivers who are getting that many targets, and it shows. It feels forced out there. It doesn't have that feel of an elite connection, the perfect continuity, what you expect. I don't know whose fault it is. I don't know if it has to do with play calling and not getting Dez open. I don't know if it's Dez not getting open. I don't know if it's Dak being inaccurate.
Right.
But it's just not working perfectly.
And I think it's one of those things that we're looking forward to,
Are we looking forward to the Packers?
I am, because I think we've got a lot of things coming back. We got David Irving coming back. More than likely, Sean Lee and Anthony Hitchens may be back.
I think Hitch will be pretty limited. If Sean Lee's feeling okay, he'll play a lot.
Right. And Stephen Jones, I heard him on one of the radio stations here talking this morning. They're real optimistic on that happening, that you've got a lot of things coming back. You've got a lot of people who, they can work back into the system. But you've still got this whole Zeke suspension looming where they think by Thursday they should hear something if he's suspended. And it's one of those things where it's like you get Hitchens, Irving, and Sean Lee back.
And things could look good,
and then you lose Zeke for the 6 games, and then here you are. It's kind of like they go in week to week not knowing what to expect, and I think it's one of those things that you've just got to look at. But the Packers, the other night, they let the Bears hang with them during the first half, and then the second half, that
was peak Packers right there.
Yeah, that was what I'm scared of, and that's why I made that comment about clock management is Garrett going to slow things down? Because you have to. If you get a lead on the Packers, you've got to be consistently moving the chains, and you do that with Witten and you do that with Beasley. You can do that with, Alfred Morris breaking out one, or you can do that with Zeke breaking one out. If you get Zeke on the outside, it seems like Zeke's being stuffed in the middle. You can't have Switzer muffing a fucking punt.
Right. That can't be.
And that totally changed the momentum. You've got to keep the momentum going, but you've also got to be conservative with your play clock. You can't run a play unless there's less than 5 seconds on the play clock.
Yeah.
With the Packers, because any second that you can eat up with the Packers is money for you.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think we'll have to watch. I think it'll be an interesting game, especially with people coming back. If people start looking at it, if coaches start looking at the personnel and start looking at the schemes and looking at the plays, maybe let's get Beasley. Beasley played way more snaps the first 2 games than he has the last 2 games.
Yeah.
He was 149 of like 175.
Right.
And now it's like 119 to 185. And they're not hitting him because I think there's been so much pressure by everybody that it's got to be Dak and Dez. But, let Beasley season it up a little. I'm good with him seasoning it.
Good old sauce.
Yeah, because, that's the thing is, you let Beasley put the sauce on, Zeke going to eat.
Right.
And that's the thing. And we don't think about that. So we've got about 2 minutes left here in the live show.
Last thing on the Cowboys-Packers. What scares me, the Rams been one of the best offenses in the league.
Right.
They've been scoring 35 points a game, I think, and they scored 35 against the Cowboys. The Packers, their first game, they beat the Seahawks. They only scored 17, but they still got the win. Second game, they got the loss, but they scored 23. Then they scored 27. Then they scored 35. Their offense, their points per game has increased every single week.
Right.
It seems like they're getting on a roll.
Right.
That is one thing, is if their offense is clicking, they will eat us alive. But if, I feel like their defense, they have some weaknesses that we can expose. It's going to be all about whose offense comes out on top.
Exactly. And so now we're at the 2-minute warning, so let's get some predictions here going. What are we calling on this game?
I got a 3:25 kickoff at Dallas.
Jerry's World's going to be lit.
Good old sunny afternoon. I've got Packers 28. I got Cowboys 30.
So you're going a 2-point difference. Man, I want to believe it on that. But me going on the conservative route, I just think there's too many question marks up in the air for the Cowboys, too much fire going for the Packers, and I'm going to say 31-28 Packers. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that at all. I know my whole job here is drinking with the boys, not sacks with the packs. But, I definitely think this is going to be a true test for them. If they can come out on this one, I think this will be the big momentum shifter that we're going to where we may not talk about another loss for the season. And that's what I hope for.
I was real close to saying 27. So, I'm going to
really say 28-31. I'm going to say that it's going to be one of those things goes down to the last minute just like it did last time with the Packers. I think it's going to be one of those things. I think we're going to have a spot where we have, a question on was it a catch. Packers-Cowboys games always seem to be really, really fun. And, it's one of those things where, I want things to happen. So, but that's going to be the show for us. Drinking with the Boys, Instagram, Drinking with the Boys, Facebook, Drinking with the Boys, Twitter, DRKNW the Boys, and we are all over it. Be looking out for some merch, some other cool things that we've got in the works. Check out draft.com/DWTB. Put that in. It gets you the promo code when you do a deposit. We'll give you guys a free game on us, all right? So until next time, drink that beer, watch that football, and have a lot of fun.
Go Cowboys.
Let's go, boys.